What's going on, guys? I'm back real quick. Just did a little surfing around the web. So, nothing official yet, but it seems like Jared Hurd will face Julian Williams on May 11th, which I think is going to be a pretty good fight. I'm a J Rock fan. I'm also a Jared Hurd fan. Um, and then also, Charlo will face Tony Harrison on June 23rd on Fox. So nothing, official yet, no announcements yet, no, press conference or anything. But it seems like that is the goal um, for both bouts, and obviously the winners will probably face each other. You know, 154 is kind of top heavy, but it's not a bad division. I like Charlo. I like Tony Harrison. Um, very similar in terms of their styles. They kind of mirror each other. They're both good boxer punchers, counter punchers. Um, I think Tony Harrison's the more fundamental, disciplined boxer. Um, but I thought Jermel was more consistent. You know, um, I thought Jermel probably should have won the first fight, but I wasn't mad that they gave it to Tony. To me, Tony was definitely landing the more eye-catching shots. It's just, to me, he wasn't consistent in what he was doing. He was kind of fighting in spurts to a degree, whereas Jamel, though, wasn't the cleanest, wasn't the prettiest looking, but he was definitely more aggressive. He was more consistent with his aggression. He wasn't cutting the ring off that half bad. Um, when he doubled and tripled his jab and then threw, the straight right or the hook, he would actually land. Um, it's just, both Charlos that night kind of struggled with the same thing where they were, firing, hard 1-2s, but, they're kind of predictable in what they're doing. So I think that's what hurt both Charlos that night in their performances. Jermal versus Matt Korobov and Jermel versus Tony Harrison. They're both somewhat predictable in what they're doing. So, I think they both kind of won the fight on consistent pressure, aggressiveness. Not always clean, not always pretty, but I thought they were just more consistent. I thought Tony Harrison was definitely landing more eye-catching shots, which is why I didn't have a problem with him getting the nod over Drabel Charlo. But I'm glad they're having a rematch. I'm glad they're doing what's right. A lot of fans were like, shocked that Dremel lost. You could tell, when the announcers were definitely shocked. The Barclays Center, it's like the air was sucked out of the room, and it was just like, what just happened, when Jimmy Lennon Jr. was like, and the new, and everyone was like, oh, like what, like what happened? So, it's a good fight though. I like Jermel and I like Tony Harrison. I told my pops the day before they actually fought that it was actually going to be a good fight because they kind of remind me of each other. You know, kind of like I don't think they're as good, but kind of like Earl Spence versus Terrence Crawford. They kind of remind me of each other. Southpaws, athletic, in their prime. They can both box. They can both go to the body. You know, athletic. They got power. Um, I hope they make Earl Spence versus Crawford soon, man. Just as a boxing fan, I gotta see it. That AJ Wilder. There's too many great fights in boxing that should happen and are not happening, and it's driving me nuts. But back to Jamel and Tony Harrison, that's a really good fight. I like that fight a lot. I'm glad the rematch is happening. For Tony Harrison, be a little more assertive than you were in the first fight. I think that's what some of the fans probably had issue with. Like I said before, I think Tony showed that in the first fight, he is the more disciplined boxer. They're both good boxers. They're both, good countering ability. I think they both have good power, good speed, athletic. They can slip punches, they can counter. Um, I just thought Tony just didn't do it enough I think overall he's sharper. I just thought he just needed to be more consistent in what he was doing. I think for Jamel, just clean up, kind of the reverse. Tony be more aggressive. Jamel, clean up what you were doing. So Jamel had the right idea, but you were kind of sloppy and predictable in what you were doing. I think Jamel. I don't know how. This what drove me crazy. You have the known body puncher in boxing as your sparring partner, and you didn't go to the body like at all. That is confusing. Like maybe going to the body, it might slow down the boxer. I don't know. Just a thought. I know it's easier said than done, of course, but I think both Charlos really could learn to, it's okay to go to the body. It's not a bad idea. It'll slow down the smaller guy. Actually, Jermell and Tony are about the same size. Tony's a little taller, but size-wise, they're kind of similar. It's a good fight. Until they make an official announcement, I won't do a prediction or anything. But it's a good fight. I don't know where they're gonna do the rematch. Obviously, I don't think it'll happen in the Barclays again. Couldn't see them doing it in Texas because Tony Harrison's the champ now. Maybe Detroit might be too much of a home. So I don't know. I would look. I don't. PBC don't really fight in Madison Square Garden too much. I don't know. I don't know where they might put that fight. Maybe they'll do it in Vegas, like Mandalay Bay or something. I don't know. We'll have to see where they or. I can't see that fight really in California. I would say Mandalay Bay, maybe, or maybe the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in New York. Could do it there. I can't see it doing it at the Barclays again. It's not gonna happen in Texas. I'm curious where they would do the rematch. I think that's kind of the problem. Kind of figure out where should we do the rematch. Yeah, that's a tough one, but we'll see what happens. And then May 11th, which that's kind of close. I don't think it's gonna happen on May 11th because it's March 18th right now. So if Jared Hurd, J Rock, I mean, where's the I think they would promote it better if they already made an official announcement. So um, I really feel like they should have the fights together. You could have Jared Hurd and J Rock as the main event, and then on the undercard, Jamel versus Tony Harrison. I doubt they would do it, but I'm a selfish boxing fan, so I would love to see that. That'd be a great undercard. That's kind of one thing that's been kind of missing from pretty much everybody. ESPN, DAZN, Fox. Undercards have not been that great so far. I thought that was always kind of PBC's main advantage over the other networks is that their undercards were decent. Um, so I think boxing fans are kind of due to have a nice card where you can say, "Oh, that fight's pretty good." Oh yeah, that fight, that's it's pretty cool. So, um, J Rock versus Jared Hurd. Quick thoughts. That's not a bad fight. I like J Rock a lot. He can box. He's athletic. A lot of good boxers in this division. You got J Rock, Charlo, Harrison, Lubin. Still a young prodigy. Erislandy Lara, phenomenal boxer. Kell Brooks, still a good boxer. Not quite the same fighter, but he's still a good fighter. And then you got the two behemoths with, Swift Jared Hurd and Jaime Munguia. Both are probably going to move up to 160, if not by the end of this year, early next year. That's why you got to be careful with marinating because it feels like the Charlo Hurd fight is a little taken down a notch. Still a great fight, but it's definitely lost some luster. But that's why you got to be careful about marinating. I don't blame Jared Hurd though because he had a tough schedule. He fought Tony Harrison, who's now a champ. Then he fought Austin Trout, former champ who fought everybody. Then he fought Lara, the longest reigning champ and probably the top guy in the division for the last 4 or 5 years, back to back to back. So I'm not mad that he Want to get a couple of tune-ups, face a couple of right-handers, and it seems like I can't see Hurd versus Harrison too. Maybe it depends how if Tony beats Jermell and beats him more dominantly, then okay, maybe Tony really got better, but it would have to be something like that, Jared Hurd, J Rock is going to be a good one, Never seen a boring Jared Hurd fight, That's a good fight though, J Rock, he can box, punch, good speed, he can counter real well. I think the danger with fighting big guys like Hurd is that you get comfortable in rhythm of hitting him so much that you don't stop and you don't pace yourself the way that you need to. I think that's what happened to Tony. I think that's what happened to Trout. Kind of happened to Lara too. That's just the dangers of beating someone so hitting them so much is that you can't stop, and then the second half of the fight you're like tired of hitting them, and he's still coming forward swinging at you. So Hurd is a nightmare to face at 154. So we'll see how J Rock does. You know, if he can, keep off Jared Hurd from, doing his thing. So we'll see what happens. But both are really good fights. 154, definitely an interesting division. Like I said, it's kind of top heavy, but it's definitely a lot of good fights. I hope Lara Castano rematch. That wasn't a bad fight. I don't know what Kell Brook's doing, but he might fight Sergio Garcia. Maybe. I don't know. This is just me spitballing. I don't have any details or anything like that. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But let me know what you guys think. Definitely subscribe, hit that like or dislike button. Definitely leave a comment what you think about the division, what you think about Charlo Harrison rematch. Let me know what you think about Hurd and J Rock and the winners facing off. Other than that, y'all have a good one.